My name is Meghan Kieffer and I am a freshman at Malone University. I am also a member of the Atwood Lakers 4-H Club. I've been in the Atwood Lakers for 4 or 5 years now, but in total I've been in 4-H for 9 years. When I first started doing 4-H projects, I took breeding rabbit and horse projects, but over the years I've fell in love with working and handling rabbits, so I started taking the other rabbit projects, so the pet rabbit, the market rabbit, and breeding rabbit, and they're just all a lot of fun and really easy to take, especially if you live in an area where you can't have larger livestock, so it's really a great starter project too. There are 49 different rabbit breeds that can be shown in America at different rabbit shows. My very first rabbit I bought from a 4-H'er who was aging out, and she was a Silver Martin. Now, over the years, I've gone through several different breeds, such as Lionheads and Rhinelanders and French Lops, but now I've settled down and got myself 2 different breeds that I plan to work on in the future and breeding and raising as my own. Now, the first one is called the Californian. My Californian volunteer today is a lovely junior doe named Luna. Now, Californians are most known for just being a solid white rabbit with black ears and a black nose, as well as on their feet and their tail. They are one of the most common market breeds in America, and they originated from California. And if you go to the fair and you look at all the market rabbits, you'll notice that most of them look like this. And they just have really soft fur that's characterized as a flyback as it returns right back to place. And they're very docile, but they are very large. Now, they're what's called a 6-class breed because they're really big rabbits. So if I compare Luna to a 4-class rabbit, she's going to be much bigger. Even as a junior, she is already larger than most 4-class seniors. And actually, so the 6 different classes that a 6-class rabbit can be shown in are junior buck, junior doe, intermediate buck, intermediate doe, and senior buck and senior doe. And so as they age up in each division, they will be showing against rabbits that are of the same age as them. So the 4 and 6 class difference is just because they're bigger, they take a little bit longer to develop. So they're just very soft and large rabbit. My second rabbit volunteer today is a senior buck Trianta named Freddie. He is a Trianta, and they're characterized by their solid red coat, and it's a bright fiery red. And because of that, they're also known as the Fire of the Fancies. Now, the fancy part comes in because they were actually bred for the kings and queens of the Netherlands back in the 50s. So they were bred for the royalty because they just loved the bright coat, but they're also known for their large heads and short ears compared to the rest of their body. As a form of identification for rabbits, especially breeds that have a similar look throughout the whole breed with similar markings or no markings at all, we use tattoos to be able to tell them apart. Now, when we tattoo them, we just take either a clamp or a tattoo pen and we will write in their ear what we want them to be tattooed as. Usually it's their name or a number, and it's just so we can tell which rabbit's who just by looking in their ear. And it's completely painless because rabbits don't have any nerves in their ear. It's almost like getting your ears pierced at the mall. And if you look, you can see there he cleanly has an FR tattooed in his ear, and that's just so that whenever I look in his ear, I can tell this is Freddie. Now, you have to feed and water your rabbits every day, just like you eat every day. And personally, in my cages, I prefer to use these dishes that hang on the side of the cage, and you can see where they have these hooks that just go down and clip onto the side of the cage so that way it can't fall off or the rabbit can't knock it loose. Now, I use 2 of them. I use one for food and one for water, and no matter, even if there's still water left in the dish, every day the rabbit should get new fresh water. So if there's still water left, These dishes make it easy to just slide off and dump out the old water and put new water in. Now I feed my rabbits a pellet. The kind of pellet you feed doesn't matter. They all look the same. And I feed my rabbits 1 cup of pellets a day. And depending on whether it's really hot or really cold, I will mix in other things such as sunflower seeds or oats. Currently I don't have any on me, but they're like a treat. Just like when you like to eat candy, rabbits love to eat oats and sunflower seeds. Whenever you breed a rabbit, they are usually pregnant from 28 to 35 days, but they usually give birth on day number 32. Now, as they approach the 32nd day, usually around day 30 or 31, you want to prepare what's called a nest box for your rabbit. Now, a nest box is only needed for a doe that is in the process of kindling or giving birth. Many pet owners will just give their rabbit a nest box to nest in, but it's really not necessary. Now, this is what a nest box looks like. It's big enough that the doe and her babies can fit inside of it, but it's also big enough that they can't get out too early. Now, I line mine with sawdust at the bottom and then a layer of straw. Now, when I give the nest box to the doe, she's gonna make a nest in it, and she's gonna begin to pull fur from her chest and stomach region. And if you see that, don't be concerned. It's normal. It doesn't hurt her. And what she's doing is she's taking that fur to line the nest. That way her babies don't get too cold. And whenever they're born with no hair, so they're very cold. And after a couple of days, they'll begin to grow hair and open their eyes and be able to hear. But it's actually not until they're 2 weeks old that they will be able to leave the nest box. Now, when they leave the nest box, I personally use a separate dish for pellets and then a separate dish for mix-ins such as the sunflower seeds and the oats. And I use a glass pet crock, and it's small enough that it doesn't take up a lot of room in the cage, but it's heavy enough that they can't flip it over very easily and spill all of their food. Now, whenever I have a litter, I always keep pellets in the bowl so it's never empty, and I always keep this full with oats and sunflower seeds. That way they eat a lot so they can continue to grow at a healthy rate. I also give litters Timothy hay or just hay. That way they don't get sick because their stomachs are very sensitive, so the hay helps them digest their food better. As I mentioned earlier, rabbits are born hairless and they're very cold, but within a couple of days they grow fur. And when they do grow their fur, it almost seems to stick straight out from their body, and this is all just baby fluff. And this is Archie. He's about 11 weeks old, and it's in that 10 to 12 week range that they will begin to lose their baby fur, and it will be replaced by their adult fur. And you can kind of see here on his face where all of his adult fur is growing in on his nose but not his forehead, so he's got this clear distinct separation right there, and that'll take place all over their body. It'll slowly, until they've come across his back, until they've lost all of their baby fur and it's replaced by nice dense adult fur. And this baby coat is actually thicker than their normal coat will be, and that's just because it keeps them warm even as they grow, just to make sure that they don't get cold. And this is especially helpful in the winter months, but it's not as helpful in the summer months when it gets a lot hotter. So you just want to make sure that there's proper ventilation and you break down your litters in the summer months just to make sure that they're not all pushed up against each other in their cage and getting really hot. Now, when they're born, you want to keep them with their mother until they're about 6 weeks old. Then from there, you can remove them from their mother, but keep them all in the same pen. Keeping the babies all together when you separate them from their mother helps release the stress, and it's less stressful for them to all stay together after they've been removed from their mother. And then after that, every couple of weeks, you can slowly break the pens into halves. So for example, he came from a litter of 4. And so after 6 weeks, the 4 rabbits were removed from their mother. And then after 2 more weeks, the pens were broken down into 2 and 2. And then 2 weeks after that, they were all broken down into their own cage. This just helps relieve stress as they're separated, but it also helps them grow and they're not competing for food out of the same dish. When I groom my rabbits, especially since they're short hair and they're not an Angora breed, I don't need as many brushes. So I use this one brush. It's just normal brush, and I just brush against the fur, and then I take my hand and I place the fur back down where it goes. And this just helps keep the fur in place, as well as just working it to get it into a good condition. Now, whenever you trim their toenails, it's similar to trimming your fingernails, that it doesn't need to be done like every week, but just when they need to be trimmed. And I actually use this pair of trimmers to trim their toenails. It's painless, it's easy to use, and whenever you're trimming their toenails, it helps to keep them swaddled in a towel or something that's not thick and heavy like a blanket. And just so whenever you would wrap them with the towel, you would wrap all of their limbs except for the one you want to trim. So for example, if I'm going to trim their back feet, I'm just going to leave their back feet out of the towel. But if I'm trimming their front feet, I'm going to leave their front feet out of the towel. It makes it very easy, and it keeps them feeling nice and snug so they can't kick out very much. Now, whenever you're trimming your rabbit's toenails, don't be surprised that there's a different amount of toenails on the back feet than the front feet. Now, on the back feet, rabbits only have 4 toenails, so you can actually count them, and they should have 4 toenails on their back paws. But when you move to their front paws, they should have 5 toenails. They should have 4 main toenails and then 1 on the side, almost like a thumb. And it's called a dew claw. You want to make sure all of them get trimmed whenever you are trimming toenails, because if they can get too long, the rabbits get very uncomfortable to walk on them, and it keeps them from posing properly. Now, whenever you're flipping your rabbit, if you want to flip it just like I did, you want to grab the one finger between the ears, but your thumb and 3rd finger wrap around the ears. You don't want to pull on the ears or lift with the ears. Just have a firm hold of them to make sure that your rabbit can't turn its head or jerk its neck, because it could hurt both you and the rabbit. Then you want to gently, using the 3 fingers, scruff the rabbit, not harsh but very gently, and you want to run your other hand along its rump, and you're gonna lift with your hand grasping the ears and the neck, and you're gonna use your other hand that's holding the rump to bring around it underneath, and then your rabbit is now on its back, and you can examine its stomach or its feet, its hocks if you need to. Anything that you would need to see underneath the rabbit, you can see when it's flipped. And if you keep a firm but not harsh hold on its ears and the back of its neck, they will be very calm in this position. You can check their tail, their feet, their teeth. Now, if you are checking their teeth, you want to bring your hand up above the head. That way, if the rabbit lashes forward, they can't bite your hand. And while you have them flipped, something that's always great to check for, especially if you have them in a wire cage, would be sore hocks. Now, when you're checking for sore hocks, you're going to be checking the pads of the feet right here. These are also called the hocks. And if the rabbit were to develop sore hocks, the fur would be missing or patchy, and they would have scabs and blisters on the bottom of their feet. Now, if your rabbit develops sore hocks, you would take them from the cage. You could take them from a vet to get antibiotic treatment for it, and you can buy what's called resting boards, and they just cover the wire of the cage and protect the feet. Now, if you have bigger rabbits, nesting boards are encouraged, but they aren't necessary in smaller rabbits. Freddie and I thank you so much for coming and watching our video today. We hope you learned something, And who knows, maybe in the future you can be showing rabbits just like Freddie. Thank you.